You're listening to the No Gray Areas podcast with Patrick McCullough. Today's guest is Tim McDonald, president of National Christian Foundation Southwest. Tim shows us how we can live generously even when we feel like we have nothing left to give. Let's dive in.
Tim McDonald, welcome to No Gray Areas. It's so good having you on our podcast. We joke about it, but we just met, I think, a couple of weeks ago, right?
We did, Patrick,
yeah.
Yes.
And the funny thing was, for about a year now, I kept having these meetings. Like every 3 weeks, I'd have a meeting with someone that I would hear, do you know Tim McDonald? You really need to meet Tim McDonald. And so we finally met a few weeks ago, and we were just a few minutes into our conversation, and I was immediately going, I know why everybody said that. So too. I connected with you right away. But let's get a little bit of background. We're going to talk about generous living, generous giving today, but a little background on you. So you're from what part of the country?
Yeah, so grew up in the Boston area.
Okay.
Yeah, huge, stupid. You could say stupid before huge.
Yeah.
Red Sox fan.
You are.
Just dumb. Celtics, Bruins. Patriots really didn't exist when I was there, although they had the team, but didn't really matter. Yeah. Today, it's a different story.
Now, I had one of my friends in high school. His dad was an annoying Celtics fan. I was from Montana. Yeah. And because of that, I couldn't stand the Celtics. But you know how it often is? I look back on that era in the 80s, with Bird, McHale. Oh, that was, wow, you guys had a team.
So for my 33rd birthday, my wife did a surprise birthday party for me. She took down all the artwork, everything in the house, replaced it all with photos or jerseys of Larry Bird. In the whole house, yes. So I could have been your obnoxious cousin.
Yeah. Well, then I went to Bible school in downtown Chicago, and all the teams that would play the Chicago Bulls would come down there, or the pre-draft camp. They would be at that school that I went to at the gymnasium. Yeah. And I met Larry Bird in person there, and that was again. I didn't. Looking back now, I would have probably soak that up a little bit more now. Yeah. At that time, I'm just like, Larry Bird, he's the annoying guy that I didn't like his team, but now great respect.
So quick silly story. Yeah. So a friend of mine, she worked for USA Basketball, and she was a part of the first teams that were the Dream Team. Mm-hmm. And so we go to a Nuggets game. I go with her and my wife and some other friends. And after the game, she introduced us to Larry and Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. So we were on the side of the court meeting them, right?
Yeah.
I can't speak, Patrick.
I'm
dumbstruck. I can't speak. In fact, my eyes have welled up with tears. My wife looks at me and she's sort of tapping me on the shoulder, and I'm like, I'm done. Don't honey, I can't talk to you. This is just this. Now I can die. And go to heaven. I'll be done. It's just good.
That was a team. That was a team. You've had them, and you actually had some great ones after that too. But that was an era that's unforgettable for sure. So what about some of your work life then? What have you done in your career?
A number of different things. Yeah. Done some fundraising development with a couple organizations. One some might have heard of, Focus on the Family. Mm-hmm. Worked with them for a little while. Mm-hmm. Really, my work life got started working with Pepsi-Cola, and so in high school and through college was a truck driver for Pepsi. Yeah. So I would sling soda and make that happen, and had a ball. Yeah. And then got in some real estate development and did some other things, and that lead me to where we are today.
So maybe you can solve this for everybody. Is it soda, cola, or pop? What is it?
So I don't care what anybody else says, right? It's soda.
Okay.
That's what it has to go by, and anyone who says different is wrong. That's and by the way, Pepsi and Coke. Yeah, it's a stupid fan of Pepsi, and I can smell the difference, and just it's ridiculous.
I was a Coke fan for most of my life, and it was the last couple of years because my son-in-law's dad just loves Pepsi, so we started having it more when he come over. I've turned into a Pepsi fan, so I get it a little bit.
Well, with a nose like this, you can smell it.
You can smell the difference.
It's ridiculous.
Now, I do want you to know, when I was over in India a couple years ago, I got a little can, and it said pop on it. So I was like, there, it proves it. Because I grew up with, it's pop, grab a can of pop. Yeah. I found out that there's not very many people that say that, but I was one, and it said pop. So I took a picture of it. I can show it to you later if you want to know. It is pop.
Evidence.
So, but you worked with some authors too, right?
I did.
Significant authors.
Yeah. They did some amazing work. One of them I worked with was the president of the board that you went to school with. So love that institution and the organization, and love him. Yeah, I mean,
Moody Bible Institute,
Bible
downtown
Institute.
Chicago.
Yeah. And the gentleman I got to serve was Jerry Jenkins. And Jerry's just a stud.
Yeah. How many books he's written? Over 100 books, right?
Yeah. It's over 200 now.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. He's a prolific writer. And besides that, he's just a great man.
He's a great individual too.
Great
family. And some people that may not know Jerry Jenkins may actually know of his son right now, Dallas Jenkins, who, right, he's the producer of The Chosen.
Yeah, creator of The Chosen.
Yeah, the creator of it.
Yeah, it was his brainchild.
Wow, and that is outstanding.
It is.
I can't recommend that enough.
Agreed. Me either.
Yeah,
I am an absolute fan.
Yep.
And would encourage anyone who's listening, if you haven't watched any of the episodes of The Chosen, do so.
Yeah.
Just do so.
The very first one, I didn't even know much about it. People told me about the first one that came out. I was really tired. I made it about halfway through it, and then I turned it off for some reason. I don't remember why, but then I came back to it a couple months later, and that hooked, because when you get to the end of that first episode, and
Mary
she meets
Magdalene,
Jesus, and he calls her by name. Yes, I teared up.
I do now.
Yes,
as I think about it. I can't think of another episode of anything video that captures my heart. I
just got goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
It was magnificent. And then the Nicodemus one was the same one.
Yeah,
when he's like, when the realization comes over Nicodemus, this is the one. Yeah. Oh, it's so incredible. So, totally did you know Dallas when he was young?
I did. I knew him when he was out of college and when he was getting started in his career, and he's just he and his family, his wife Amanda, their kids are it's just a great family.
Good.
Just the whole family, just much love and respect for them.
When I found out you worked for Jerry Jenkins, I told you I was working security at the time at Moody Bible Institute, and I would walk through Moody Publishing. They had their big warehouse there, and I remember just seeing stacks of Jerry Jenkins' book. Another one came out, and then it seemed like a couple months later, it was probably longer than that, another Jerry Jenkins book. I mean, he wrote a lot of books, some good ones. I've read quite a few.
Some great ones.
Yeah,
I was a raving fan of Left Behind, the series itself.
Yeah.
And just because I loved the writing, I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
So.
Well, really the subject matter that we want to talk about is generous living, which is part of what you do now, right? You're
Correct.
Involved in helping people with generous living. I think most people listening have a general idea what that means, but unpack that a little bit. What does it mean when you talked about someone living generously? What would that look like?
So what I do now is I work with an organization called National Christian Foundation. So I'm the president of our region here, and we serve givers in Arizona and New Mexico. And we want to come alongside anyone and help them understand this joy of generous giving and how it affects all aspects of life. We know that many folks have a financial strategy, right? So they have those ducks in a row, but they may not have a giving strategy. And so when they don't have a giving strategy, many times they're missing opportunities or spending more on taxes maybe than they necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
So NCF, what we do, our team does, is come alongside those folks and help them create that giving strategy.
Yeah.
So they can experience that greater joy of generosity that comes alongside that. And then that's what we do.
Would you suggest that for anybody at any income level, saying it's important that you sit down and you have a giving strategy?
Yeah, this is an income amount.
This has nothing to do with income.
That's right. It's a heart set. And it has to do with everyone. So time, money, resources, your family, how you interact with people, it's all encompassing. Yeah. So it's not a money scenario, although there are aspects of giving that we can do with our resources. But that's the money side of things is just an outcome sometimes, or a small slice of everyone's life and their journey. And we love to come alongside folks as they're walking on this generous journey and what that looks like. And so this journey of generosity, which is an event we help host from time to time, and there's a larger organization that really focuses on stewarding those conversations really, really well, that we're aligned with at the hip. And we love hosting those kind of conversations with folks, and with no pretense whatsoever. It's not a fundraising kind of conversation, because money has nothing to do with it. It's a life heart set. And when that happens, you get many times you go to the spot right where that took place.
And you can. right? When I met you,
yes,
you were talking about when you did generous journey.
Yeah.
That you can remember exactly. So tell us where that was. You can remember where you were standing.
And I know exactly where I was standing. Yeah, on the stairwell in our house. It was after my wife and I had come back up the stairs. The basement of our home was empty, and so we were in a home that was much larger than we needed, and so we had friends of our oldest son at the time found themselves needing a place to stay. So Lainey and I walked downstairs to look at the house. Maybe they could move in down here, and we're walking back up the stairs, and she says, "Tim, if you hadn't taken me to that generous event, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. There's only one answer we have, and the answer is yes. They're moving into our house. Let's just make this happen." And that was transformative for both of us. Mm-hmm. It wasn't we didn't give anything, right? We didn't give anything away. Yeah. All we did was we had a resource that someone else needed to utilize, and that spurred on activity in our minds and our hearts to help serve this family.
How did that event lead you to the point? Like, it almost sounds like your wife was telling you, like, this, we don't even need to discuss this. We both know what we're going to do here. Yeah. How did that event lead you to that? Like, do you think prior to you going through that event that you might have been on the stairwell and not even thought about that was an option?
We would have had the conversation, but I don't think our hearts would have been at the very same place for us to so easily say, yep, done deal. Next. Yeah. What do we got to do next? Yeah. Versus hemming and hawing and maybe not understanding what this joy for somebody else could mean. Because for us, it certainly wasn't a hardship. And but for this family, it was a big deal. They got to be out. They got to be somewhere, have their own access to their own place, and really be able to do what they want to do on their own. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have the resources to do it. Mm-hmm. And for a young family, it's a necessary item.
So because you used that phrase earlier, the joy of generous living, it's you and your wife got to experience that joy, but they do it as well, right? Yeah. Yeah. There's a ripple effect there too, isn't there? Yeah. Like when you started down that journey, and that's why I like when you talked about this journey of generous living, that you do something like you and your wife did, but then it just leads to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, doesn't it?
It does. And so it was for Lainey and I are the ones who really felt the joy, right? That we got to experience that. They got to experience a place to land, and they were safe, and everything was great. They, meaning mom and dad and two little kids. And the two little kids just had a ball because we had plenty of space. And so they'll remember that opportunity as well. Yeah. And then we get to share. It's sharing with other individuals. Why the heck are you doing that? Yeah. Why did you open up your house? Yeah. Well, the question isn't why would we? The question is why wouldn't we? And there was no hurdle there whatsoever. And I'm not saying we're the most generous individuals at all. I'm just simply saying what we experienced was awesome. Yeah. And to be able to share that joy with others, it's something God's called us to do.
Why do you think, because I can almost guarantee you that everyone in the audience that's listening right now can think back on a time where they were generous and they're going, yeah, I remember the joy it brought me. Why do you think that gives us such joy as human beings to live generously?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a faith aspect to it. There's a personal aspect to it, a human being aspect to it as well. But I think when you layer faith on top of that, what Christ did for us was extraordinary. So obviously I come from a Christian faith. And so what I've experienced with that generous living and giving is what I experienced is extraordinary. Yeah. What I'm able to do is a small slice of that same thing of giving. And it doesn't matter if it's much or little. Yeah. It's about how we go about doing that, meaning are we there to do it for him and to serve others? Yeah. And not looking for any recognition from anyone at all. Yeah. The joy is in the giving, and everything else gets to take care of itself.
I really like too how you said that it's a mindset, it's a heart, right? It's a heart issue of it's not just about I have some money in my wallet. It's just all that I have, all that I've been given is not just mine. Yeah. I'm stewarding it, right? Is that part of that?
Yeah, it is. And so I think the mindset around that, which I've come to understand, and I haven't always had this mindset. Do we have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset? Do we never have enough? right? You could argue that no one will ever have enough.
I just want a little bit more.
Yeah, just
a little bit more.
Just a little bit more, right? And the trappings that our society puts on us in that realm is real.
Yeah.
It is real. And so, but that comes from a scarcity mindset. An abundance mindset, if God really owns it all, and if I really am his steward, and he's called me to do this with whatever, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because he's called me to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's not mine.
Yeah.
It's his. Mm-hmm. And so when I give it away, I'm not giving you anything of mine, right? I'm just transferring the ownership is then from him. He's going to continue to have that. You're now a steward of what that is.
Yeah.
And so the abundance versus scarcity mindset is an extraordinary thing for it to click. One of my favorite books is a book called Rooting for Rivals, written by two gentlemen, Peter Greer and Chris Horst.
Rooting for Rivals.
Rooting for Rivals, yes. ROOTING. And it talks about that scarcity versus abundance mindset. And it's convicting as church members, as churchgoers, as organizations who are in the marketplace to serve the community. So it could be churches, nonprofits, whatever the case may be. And how many of those organizations actually share with one another? The idea is if God really does own it, then we are to be sharing this together. And this isn't my donor, right, on a fundraising side of things. This is what we're to do together. And I would encourage anyone in leadership, one, to read that book, but two, anyone in Christian leadership wondering, how on earth are we going to make this plan happen? It opens some ideas that I think is just awesome.
I know, again, because I've worked in the nonprofit church world for much of my life, and I know that there is that danger. It's so easy to fall into that. Like there's this pie, and it's only so big.
Yep.
And you are an organization, and I'm an organization. There's an organization over here, and we're all fighting for a piece of that pie.
Yep.
And but there's only so much. But that's
we're
the
doing
scarcity
this, right?
mindset.
We're doing this, And if we do this,
and that's what we see the biblical worldview again is God saying, I own all of this. I have more than you can imagine. I have more than you can. So it's not that there's a piece of pie and there's only so much. It's that there's this amount that we can't even fathom.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But that takes a while to get there because everything's working against us. I remember reading a study that took place how marketing has changed. Mm-hmm. That marketing in the early part of the last century, in the early 1900s, it was basically to tell you why this was a good product.
Right.
But it started to shift to get us to go, this is why you need this. Not just want it, but need this.
Correct.
Which led us to, we've just been raised now in a culture and a society. It's like, I don't have enough. I need more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. This is so silly. But along those very lines, I've fallen into that same trap.
Oh,
so I can talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
But as soon as I walk out this door, I can be right back in that same spot. Mm-hmm. So my wife and I are at an event and everybody's dressed up in cowboy gear. Well, we didn't have cowboy gear. So we happened to go to this great cowboy store that happens to be in this little town. It's just great. And, these boots, you have to have these boots.
Oh, yeah.
I need them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank goodness that my heart didn't succumb to that mindset.
Yeah.
And need to spend frivolously on doing something like that. But it's a constant struggle.
Yeah. We'll probably never arrive in this life.
Correct.
Right? We'll never. That's why I like that phrase. It's a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
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 So you're a little further along in that journey than you were a while ago,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us can maybe look, and honestly, maybe some of the people listening can go, I actually feel like I've gone backwards in my journey,
mm-hmm.
which is okay because that's part of your journey again. So what are you going to do about it now?
Right.
Right. But in these sessions or these times where groups meet together and you call it the generous journey, is that what it's called?
It's called the Journey of Generosity.
Journey of Generosity.
We short form it, call it a JOG.
Yeah.
A Journey of Generosity.
Journey of Generosity.
Mm-hmm.
What do people experience in that? Like, what is one of the things that starts happening with them? That's what you guys went to, you and your wife, which changed the conversation on the stairwell.
Yeah. It is a conversation around resources, time, heart, desire, and how are we utilizing those resources that we have to their full extent? And so many folks gather together on a journey of generosity, on a jog. And many times it's folks who don't know each other. Sometimes it's folks who do know each other. And there's always an expectation, always a thought. Okay, someone's going to ask me something.
Yes,
they got to be asking me for something.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The best conversation to have is it's generally over an afternoon, evening, and then next morning. And the reason why it's done in that format is because you get some time overnight to percolate, talk with your spouse, and really get an idea. What is this meaning to us? What is it meaning to me? Encourages conversation as a family. But then at the end of the time, there's okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And the what's next piece is, okay, let's put this into action. We can still have more conversation, which is what we look to have. But if we're going to put it into action, like Lainey and I did, putting it into action, how do you open up your house? It may be different for somebody else, right? They could have a resource that they had never thought of that, maybe I can use that for what I want to do on this generosity side of I've never really thought about before.
Yeah. I've often thought of some of those passages where Jesus talks about generosity and even his reward system in it. And I catch myself often thinking, I don't know if I really believe what he says. I know I teach it, I've preached it, but if I really believed with all my heart what he talks about regarding, hey, if you live this way, this is even personally my reward in the next life that he's talking about, I wouldn't even hesitate to be overabundantly generous, right? So I think a lot of times it's me just struggling, and I'm just being transparent and honest with you, where I go, I've preached it before, but I'm going, I must not fully believe it or understand it, or I don't know. What do you think that is?
Yeah, you're talking to the mirror, right?
Yeah.
So the very, very same thing. Because of the line of work I'm in, I come across some of the most generous individuals I've ever met. And many of us would say, holy cow, you can't give anymore. And now we're looking at resources, we're looking at money and business ownership, all that sort of stuff. And they would say, I haven't even touched the iceberg. I haven't touched the tip of it because there's so much more that I need to be giving over. And when I say giving over, I'm not talking about giving to somebody else, but truly giving to my Creator. And so for each one of us, it's that journey.
Yeah.
Every single one of us, no matter where we are in that journey. And everyone's journey is different. So as soon as you start hearing about my journey, well, yours can be completely different.
Boy, that's so important to understand, isn't it?
Yeah. And but Christ has got his hand right in the midst of that, right?
Yeah.
The different journey is just awesome.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding for each one of us, even though we're on a different path.
Yeah. I doubt very many people are going to get to the end of their life and go, I really wish I wasn't as generous as I was.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't see. I think of the end of Schindler's List, that movie, where Schindler who had given so much and sacrificed so much to save a lot of Jews, but at the end of that, where he's like, I could have done more.
I could have done more.
That's probably where most of us will be at the end of our life, not going, I was way too generous.
Right. I gave way too much away.
Yeah.
I just wish I could take some of this with me.
Yeah.
Because that's not happening. For any one of us.
Yeah. So what are some tangible things that you would recommend? I mean, so there's people living or listening, myself included, sitting across the table from you right now going, man, you're motivating me once again to go, I want to take that next step and get better. I want to move in deeper into generous living. Yeah. What are some tangible things that you would suggest?
So we have a website, ncfgiving.com, which NCF, National Christian Foundation, ncfgiving.com. And on that website is got tools and resources for financial giving.
Yeah.
There's another organization called Generous Giving. And Generous Giving, they host these things called jogs, Journey of Generosity. Would highly recommend someone go look at that website and sign up for a jog.
Good.
And trust me, it'll be worth it. Trust me. If it wasn't, you'll get my phone number because they won't keep that from you. And talk to me about it. Yeah. Because I'd love to hear why it wasn't worth it. Yeah. Because that's important to know.
So you're telling us, go to ncfgiving.com.
Yeah.
Go sign up for a jog. And if for some reason we go through that and we're like, man, he was wrong. That was a total waste of my time. You're saying, call me and I want to know why. Yeah.
So ncfgiving.com has got some tools and resources there. Generous Giving is the website that you go on to sign up for a jog.
Yeah.
And at generousgiving.com, you go on that website and you can say where you are.
Yeah.
We do them on via Zoom if it's a folks can't get face to face, but the face to face gathering is just awesome. There's some great churches, there's some great organizations here in the Valley that have hosted many of these kind of gatherings, and a small group. It's 8 or 10 people max.
Yeah.
And you're just talking about what does generosity mean? Because generosity to you could be completely different generosity to me. And so many times we layer that, right? Well, Patrick, if you're really being generous, then you're doing this. Well, your generosity has nothing to do with Tim MacDonald. Nothing. My generosity has nothing to do with Patrick. What God's called me to do, I need to do. And I need to do it with my whole heart. And I don't always do that. In fact, I probably fall pretty low on that scale. But it's not a comparison scenario. It's that heart set, mindset scenario that comes back to each one of us.
When you were talking about that, and I thought about, hopefully people signing up for this, groups going through this, but the impact. I mean, if we as human beings live generously as God called us to live, our world would be a lot different, wouldn't it be?
Wouldn't it?
I mean, it would be radically different. And then when we do live that out, there's also a generational impact that it can have. Like when you and your wife were on the stairs that day, and it wasn't even a discussion because you had gone through this jog, and now you're live generously. Those 2 little kids, they may live differently, which means their kids may live differently, which means their kids. So it starts to have a generational impact, doesn't it?
It does. It was fun talking to our boys afterwards. After we made that decision, we had this family move in because that meant when they came home, there wasn't additional room for them to stay. So we'd have to work that out. And their response was, oh yeah, makes all the sense in the world.
They were willing to sacrifice.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, we had a similar situation. Again, and this is a good story about me. I could share 1,000 where I chose not to be generous as well. But we had I was teaching and coaching. It was we were in our 20s. We had a young family as well, and there was a boy that acted out in school. He was a new kid, and then I learned more of his story and just a really tough background. But for some reason, we just heard God telling us, like, just have him come to your house. So basically, from 6th grade to him graduating, he would live with us on and off. My kids still today refer to him as their big brother. Yeah. And I'm going to do his wedding here this fall.
That's so great.
So it's all these years later.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. It was just he needed a place to stay sometimes. And you open up and you don't know what else is going to develop out of that, right?
Right.
And I've been a recipient so many times of someone who's living generously. And what that does for me is motivates me to want to do it.
Yeah.
But so it's such it's the core, really the core of what God meant for humanity to be, isn't it?
Yeah. And we've flipped it in terms of the generosity aspect of that conversation as meaning money. And it didn't mean that to you, right? It was opening a home, opening your house, having someone come in. That's as generous as you can be. Open your house.
Yeah.
Right? That's a beautiful place to be.
So I don't want to miss that point, Tim, because I think that's so good. Because I think there's a lot of people, and I do this often, that we're going, man, I'm maxed out right now. Like, I know you're talking about being generous, but I get to the end of every month and I have more bills that need to go out than income that's coming in. And so I don't know if I can be generous right now.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's not just about writing a check. Yeah. Or that's old school.
Right.
But
no, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's not about giving away money. And there are many folks that will be listening to us who don't have the income to meet the needs that they have on a monthly basis. And so for that individual, generosity is not about what they're giving away financially. It could be a total restewarding of what they have. And so to meet the needs that they have particularly, but they still have time, they still have talent, they still have the ability to serve, and that's when you give that up, you're giving up of yourself. And it's a whole lot more difficult to give up of yourself than it is to throw down a whatever bill you have and toss that out. That's a much different thing. But here's a conversation I love to have is Timmy, I don't have any more money. I got no more cash, right? And I'm tapped out on time. So this whole generosity thing, don't be talking to me about that. And my conversation many times with those folks is, okay, we're not talking about cash in terms of the NCF side of the equation. We want to come alongside folks and teach them how to understand how they can put their balance sheet in its whole into work for their charitable endeavors. And so there's many times when folks have been given generously out of cash. But as our community exists, there's about everybody who has about 10% of what they have in all their assets, maybe up to 20%, but 10 to 20% of that is in cash, okay? Chances are we're giving to whatever, the church, a rescue mission, St. Vincent de Paul, the food bank, all these great organizations, chances are we're writing a check or giving it out of whatever resource cash-wise. And so we get tapped out. There's a finite amount of that, right? The other side of that equation is what assets are owned by that individual. And that's the conversation we'd love to have, because many times folks have assets that they're like, well, I don't know how does my business fund my charitable giving? Well, that's the conversation we have on a daily basis to walk alongside someone who's been successful in their business. But that takes up a lot of time and energy. And I can't take any more money out of that. How do I go ahead and utilize that organization to fund my charitable goals? And that's what NCF does. We've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you unlock a whole new world of what it would mean to live generously. Again, most of us think it's like, I got this 10% here or whatever I can do. Yeah. And you're opening up all different opportunities. Yeah. Give us the website one more time.
NCF, National Christian Foundation, ncfgiving.com.
Yeah. Love what you're doing, Tim. Love what you're part of. I can honestly tell you that the one time we met at a restaurant now and in this conversation right here, both times you've impassioned me again to go, man, I want to step deeper into this journey about what it means to live generously.
That's awesome.
And I mean, again, imagine like just where we happen to be in the Phoenix Valley right now, right? Just imagine what would happen in this valley if you literally had hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people that started to really seek what it meant to step deeper.
Ending homelessness, ending hunger, ending the lack of funding for the biblical resources that need to be distributed around the globe. Those are all we have in our capabilities in this short amount of time to be able to eliminate those. We can do that. Yeah. That's not something that's so far out of reach. Yep. It's within our grasp.
It's doable. We can do it.
We can
do it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, thanks so much. One of the things we do with this podcast, which is fun, is the audience has gotten to know you here for the last 30, 40 minutes or so that we've been talking. Yeah. So we want, give us two truths and a lie.
Oh.
Yeah. And the irony of it, because this is no gray areas, but I'm going to ask you to lie to us.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm going to try to guess what your lie is.
So I don't know that I mentioned we lived in Colorado Springs. That's where we raised our family. So for 30 years, we were there. And so there's a little bit of context. So we love being in the outdoors. Yeah. So the two truths and a lie would be in that realm.
Okay.
I've herded buffalo.
Okay. You've herded buffalo. All right.
Yeah. Herded buffalo. I've shot an elk.
You've shot an elk.
And I've seen two lions stalk a Cape buffalo.
Ooh.
In the wild.
Ooh. Okay. Wow, that's good. I'm gonna go with the shooting the elk. If you lived in Colorado, you probably hunted. So I'm gonna go with that's a truth.
Okay, so that's the lie.
Oh, you got me. You got me. Okay.
I have been on many elk walks, elk hikes.
Yeah.
Carrying my rifle on my shoulder.
Yes.
And have never been able to do so. I am an absolute failure
So
at my.
if we were
big
counting
game
on
hunter.
you to bring food home, we'd be going hungry.
Dude, we're
Yeah,
birds.
yeah,
That's a
we're-
different story.
Yeah. We're sorry. So you watched lions stalk a Cape buffalo?
Outrageous. Ngorongoro Crater, which is in Tanzania.
Yeah.
We were in our safari Jeep, right? And the guy stops it. He goes, check this out. These 2 Cape buffalo are walking across a plain, and there's 2 lioness hiding in the grass, right? Well, these 2 lioness, we watched them for an hour, and they attack, and they're on this Cape buffalo, right? This Cape buffalo's like, not today, ladies. It fights them off and takes off.
Really?
It was the most remarkable thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what was the other one? Oh, herded buffalo.
Herding
You herded
buffalo.
too?
Yeah. So up in the hills in Colorado, there's herds of buffalo. Well, a herd had gotten out. We were staying at this home, and herd had gotten out. So we were out there in our 4-wheelers, and we're like, well, we need to move them back over. So we had 3 or 4 4-wheelers, and we were herding the buffalo back. And there was one that he's a big boy.
Yeah.
I mean, big boy. And so we had him, motoring down the roadway, getting back to his little house, and he just stopped. And he was, in his mind, he's like, I'm done moving. So I will not be chased any longer. Turns around and stares us down, and we're on our 4-wheeler.
And they're massive animals.
Massive animals.
If
Yes.
someone hasn't been close to one of those,
They're massive. Yeah. So we put our 4-wheeler in reverse and just backed up, and he turned around and walked.
He won
back.
that one.
That's
He's like, I'm
exactly
going
right.
my own time.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for being on our podcast. Appreciate it so much.
A pleasure, Patrick. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the No Gray Areas podcast. To dive deeper into the story, be sure to subscribe, follow us on social media, and check out nograyAreas.com.